Hello guys, it's Thursday, September the 15th of 2011. I've been asked to do a video response to my friend NicksVideoDiary. His video, I have it down here. My roommates hates my roommates hates, it does say hates. I'm not a grammar Nazi or anything, but when I read something out loud, I'm just like, that doesn't sound right. My roommate hates my Catholicism. Okay, I'm pluralizing roommates. I'm reading it incorrectly. I apologize. I guess because the video is all about he has decided to become a Catholic. He visited a church he said he's always wanted to, and it just felt right. Because he's visited a lot of churches because of his mom being an organist and all that other stuff. I don't really have this thought out in my head very well, so, and you know how I like to ramble, so this may not make a whole lot of sense, but I'll try to stay on point. But he went to this Catholic church, and it just felt right. It felt like a good fit for him. It's the first time, and that's good. It's the first time he said he's been excited about his faith in a very long time. You know, I would personally say maybe go a few times and make sure it's right, you know, because it's kind of like a relationship, you know, the honeymoon stage, you know, when everything's new. Of course it's exciting and you love it and you're very interested in it. I would say maybe, you know, give it a little bit more time and just make sure that it's something that you really want to do, because there's like all these classes that he has to go through or something. I'll honestly admit I'm ignorant about it myself. I don't really know. My Uncle Mike is a Catholic, I believe, and I think my sister is too. But you know, maybe just make sure that it's not that honeymoon period for you. That it really is something that, but it's good that you're excited about it. It is good that you're excited about it. But he has this religious, it's some kind of, something to remind him to pray every day or something. Just to kind of keep his, Catholicism in his mind, you know, and here's the way we do things. And, he has hung this sign up in his bathroom. And some of his, actually, honestly, I thought they were swords. I didn't realize at first until he told me that somebody had drawn upside down crosses on there, that's what they were. But, you know, once he said, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is what that is. And then someone else crossed them out. And then the next day he came back and somebody had redrawn the upside down crosses and put like pentagrams on there, you know, and something he said is it's interesting that they wrote it in the margins. I'll have the video linked in the bottom bitch, of course, if you want to go check it out or whatever, just so you can see what exactly it is that I'm talking about. Oh, it's kind of chilly today, so I might shiver a little bit. Excuse me, and I have allergies in my chestles. Not very good. So if I hack and cough and everything during this, I do apologize. But he was talking about they didn't write over the words, and well, I guess they defaced his thing, but they kind of, you know, did it with tact, because it's still, that sounds weird. I realize that probably sounds weird to say, but they defaced it with tact because it still belonged to somebody else, you know? So it's just like, well, you might get upset if we write over the words, but we'll just, you know, we'll just make our little comments here in the comment section below, you know? So I guess maybe that's, I don't know, because he was trying to understand that mentality of why they did it that way. And that could be, you know, they thought, you know, that it's still someone else's thing, so even though they're defacing it, maybe they shouldn't, you know, or you know, they shouldn't write over the words, because, you know, that's still, Nick is still going to want to use that, you know, because it still belongs to him. And I'll say that I've had a similar experience in my life, because and I'm more on the side of I never defaced anything of my friend Robert when I got to college. He had become very religious, and I was his roommate, and it was around me all the time, and it kind of, there was the way that he was, it was very, there was a lot of pressure there from him and from his friends. I always used to hate it when his friends would come up to me, because I knew they were coming up to me with ulterior motives. They weren't coming over to just see how I was or see how my day was. They were coming over with the with the intent, with the hidden intent, even though I knew why they were coming over to me. To tell me, to just mention, oh, how's your day? How's your classes? Blah, 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 blah. And then they'd be like, oh, well, you should come to the BSU sometime. They couldn't leave a conversation without throwing that in there, And it's just like, as soon as I told them no, I was just like, it's not really my thing or whatever. I think there was one guy that tried 2 times. I seem to remember he talked to me at least 2 times. And as soon as I told him no, like, they just stopped talking to me. They were no longer interested in my day. They were no longer interested in how my classes went. And we'll get back to that. That's part of the bigger topic, I guess, that I should talk about. But because I was feeling this pressure, because it's just like I couldn't escape it, and the outside of our door to our dorm room was just for me, was just mine. And so I was decorating that, showing my personality or whatever. And one day I came back from a class or something, and Robert had hung up a flyer for Res Week, which is Resurrection Week, which is a religious thing. And it was like my last bastion of something that was left just for me had just been taken away. It's a very selfish mentality, it is. Like, I'm sharing my personality, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to share yours too. But at the same time, like, of course, it didn't matter to Rob. I don't even know what I was putting on the door. I don't remember what I put on the door. But I didn't want people to think, I didn't want people to think I had anything to do with that flyer. So I ended up taking it down. And Robert asked me about it. He's like, did you take down that flyer? And I was like, yeah, I thought it was already over. He's like, oh, no, it's going on next week or whatever. I was like, oh, but it was just one of those times. It was just like, but like, Robert never minded anything that I put on the door, but religion has a very negative aspect, or a very negative stigma, I guess, is a good word to use. Make sure not to say stigmata, although sometimes that happens too, I suppose. But because I was using the wrong word once, and somebody's like, I'm sure you mean stigma. And I'm like, yeah, I probably do. But it's just like, I didn't want somebody to look at me and think that had anything to do with me, because I didn't want them to judge me based on something that I wasn't, and I really didn't want to edit this video, but I can't think of where I wanted to go from there. Clippity clip clip. Look at my notes. Oh, he did say something about they don't mind. That's one thing him and Jimmy both brought up, is the fact that they didn't mind the other posters. Well, the other posters are like decorative items, it's like a poster of the Rat Pack, and two girls kissing or whatever. Like, that's more decorative. That I guess it's not as damaging for people to think you're into the Rat Pack as you are, because, you're into, you're a religious person. They'd rather have people believing they're into Audrey Hepburn, and, Audrey Hepburn isn't one of the two girls kissing. But like I said, you can see the, no, wait, maybe it's not in that video. It's in one of his other videos. But, they were telling him to keep it in his room. And that's because he's worried about being, he said if, I read a comment that he put, my other friend Geek Wisdom, Tanya Slade, did a video response to this. And he commented on there, he shuts his door when he prays because, he feels ashamed of that, because he feels like he's being a bad Catholic because he's not supposed to be ashamed of his faith, but at the same time, he doesn't want to be seen as being in their face. And that's the best advice I can give as somebody, who's been through the experiences that I've been through, is that that's the last thing you want to do, is be in their face about it. But that's the problem with some people, is no matter what you do, you're going to be in their face. Because if you push too hard, you're going to send them screaming the other way. You're just going to, I mean, I went through a time where, I wasn't into religion at all. I mean, I still don't go to church or anything, like, I was very anti-religion. I was very anti-God and all this other stuff. But now I've gotten to a point where I can be like, you know what? It's an option. Like, as far as I know, I've never been dead. I mean, unless there's something to reincarnation, unless there's something to that. And I mean, that could possibly explain, the past lives phenomenon. I don't know. As far as I know, I haven't been dead yet, so I don't have the answer. And that's what the Nork guy was here yesterday, and he was asking me the part that's just supposed to be just for me to sit down and read or do the questions myself. He was sitting all the way over there on the couch, and I'm sitting all the way over. I'm assuming you could see the couch. I don't know. So he would have had to have stretched his cord across here, and I was like, it's fine, you can read the questions. I don't care. And that's one of the things, he was asking me about religion things, and it said something about, I had very good answers for some of the questions, and there was this one that, something about God has no influence over my life or whatever, and I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. And I think a lot of religious issues could be fixed if everybody across the board would just admit we don't know shit. Like you have faith, you have your beliefs, you have, the Bible, and you have all that other stuff. But I mean, honestly, like it's a lot of faith-based, so like nobody really does know for sure. But I mean, they'll sure use it to, hate on people needlessly, which is getting back to that stigma that I talked about, with that is placed down upon religion a lot of times. And why I didn't want it, why I didn't want that stigma on me, because I had nothing to do with it. And I've got to this, like, I don't really know. I don't. I mean, I have said, though, the way some religious people, the way they try to sell, God to me and everything, I'm like, if he's that big of an asshole, I don't want to hang out with him for eternity anyway. I mean, honestly. I'm going to be partying down in hell with the cool people. It's fine. I'll be fine. But that's the best advice that I can give you. Because I know the way that I was being pressured and pressured and pressured and pressured, it just sent me completely the other way. And like, I was somebody who, I didn't have anything against religion. I really didn't. I wasn't positive about it, but I wasn't negative about it until I started getting that pressure. And that's what gave me my negativity about religion. And I mean, there was a whole host of other things. Like, my sister, the church she was going to, she stopped going. And the people from the church just began treating her like she didn't even exist. You know? Like, they'd see her at Walmart, and they wouldn't talk to her. They wouldn't say a word. You know, and it's just like, she was, you know, oh, they loved her and they cared about her before, but suddenly when she stopped going to their church, they didn't care about her anymore. You know? And, so there's just, unfortunately, the people who are like that are the louder ones, I guess. You know, it's just like the Westboro Baptist Church people. I mean, they're definitely very, very loud, very vocal. They're the ones that are in your face all the time, you know. And I mean, there's some people, you know, like I think of the little old lady at the church who comes up and introduces herself and gives you a big hug, you know. Like, there's some people that they honestly care. They honestly, you know, they love you no matter who you are. And honestly, you know, the more I think about it, the more I realize, you know, as twisted as it might seem in his own way, Robert pushed religion on me because he cared about me. And, you know, he had found this, you know, this savior, and he didn't want me to not have that as well. You know, because he talked about, you know, he knew he was going to heaven and all this other stuff, and it bugged him to know that I wasn't going to be going there with him. You know, he wanted to spend eternity with me because he cared about me so much. You know, so I mean, sometimes that care, that especially when it's somebody close to you like that, because I've known Robert since 4th grade. Sometimes, you know, that care can make them, especially when, you know, they get on a track like that, can make them push you because, you know, they want to save you because they care about you so much. And I mean, that's a good thing to keep in mind too. If you feel somebody's pushing you, it's probably because they care about you. Like, if it's somebody close to you, you know. I don't know about Robert's friends necessarily, but Robert definitely. I mean, it was coming from a good place in his heart. You know, even if I didn't see it that way at the time, I mean, that's, you know, that's where it was coming from. You know, but that's the problem is, as I was saying earlier, there's just some people, no matter what you do, you're going to be in their face about it, especially if they already have a negative tilt to religion. You know, it's just like that, you know, I was, you know, that day that I took down that flyer off the dorm room door, you know, like that was just, you know, that was just, I was already feeling pressured. I was already had that negative mentality about religion. And, that was just like the one last thing that I couldn't even take. I couldn't take it anymore, you know, cause like I said, my last bastion of, you know, this door is just mine. This is just mine. You know, I can have this. This is mine. And then, you know, Robert kind of took that away from me. Even though it wasn't mine in the first place, you know, it was ours, and I kind of forgot that at the time. But that's what I'm saying. I already had that negative, you know, that negative slant, that negative tilt toward religion. So it was just one, you know, it was just an attack that I couldn't take at the time. But, so, I mean, he was, I don't even, see, this is what I talk about with my rambling. You guys are used to this. He talked about, you know, if he prays with his door open, he's worried about being, you know, in their face about it. But, so, the best thing to do is just kind of do what you do. And, like, if they come to you and ask questions or whatever, like, you know, Robert always told me, you know, he was open for questions, whatever I wanted. But he got to a point, there was an email he sent me, and that was finally the last straw. And that's where I made my mistake, is I put it away. He sent me some letters from this camp that he was going to at the time, and I just kind of hoped that he would drop it, and he didn't. And I should have, yes, Buffy's interjecting. You have food, you have water, you had milk. I don't want to hear anything out of you. But I should have let him know before it got to that point that I was feeling that way, because at that point, like, all it could do was explode, and that's what it did, you know. And it didn't come across as a respectful manner. I don't know if Buffy agrees or not. I can't understand cat language. So that you know, that was my fault, my problem, because, you know, I kind of hoped it would go away, and it didn't. So, you know, it got to that point because I let it get there, and, you know, there's no one to blame for that but me. You know, I should have told him, I should have wrote him back when he was sending me those letters from, you know, Camp Kanakuk, and just tell him that, you know, I don't appreciate this. Could you please just not, you know, talk to me about this? And then maybe my anger toward religion, you know, maybe I would have been okay with him hanging that flyer on the, you know, outside of the door. You know, maybe that wouldn't have been such a big issue if I had just, you know, because I was one of those people. You know, anything you did was in my face about it. Even if it was just something like, you know, not even intensive, you know, like Robert was just trying to share that with everybody. You know, it wasn't like he was pushing me, you know, he was just trying to, you know, share that with anyone who passed by our door. It wasn't, you know, but, so, I mean, that's all I can really tell you what to do, Nick, is just kind of like, kind of do what you do, and, I mean, they'll do what they do, and they'll probably hate on you for it, you know, a little bit, but maybe through conversations and stuff, I mean, maybe you can, lead them in whatever direction, you know, you hope that they go. But that's the problem, is when it comes down to it at the end of the day, you know, it's still on them to change if they want to change, you know. And I personally, well, at least, you know, now, I guess it was very passive aggressive. I didn't deface the flyer, but I did take it down, you know. So I don't know what to say about that necessarily, except for that might be seen as you trying to push them, like, you know, maybe they're just not ready for it. Like, the flyer that Robert put up, I was not ready for, and it was just another thing that set me off. So, maybe you could hang it on the outside of your door, maybe? I mean, you could still be sharing it with people, but it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be, like, out there in everybody's place, necessarily, you know? So, I mean, you could still be, in a way, sharing it, you know, and, you know, maybe they'd be a bit more okay with that if it wasn't there in what they called a common area, you know. Even though, like you said, they don't mind all your other posters, they haven't defaced any of those, you know. But like I said, those are considered more decorative, not indicative of who they are as a people, as a person, as people. So, I mean, that would be my suggestion for that area of the discussion. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can lead them to where you want them to be. But with people like that, sometimes you have to do it in a more subtle way. And I understand, like, you know, you know, you may not have put that up there in the bathroom to, you know, to share, to try to get them to read it or whatever. I mean, I don't know what your intentions were for it, but like I said, it can be seen as another way of you trying to push on them. And that's just why I'm saying, if somebody's already that upset about it and already that negatively inclined toward it, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say anyway. So I mean, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't get anybody anywhere, you know. And it's just like, you know, they might not listen to anything you have to say anyway. You know, it's just so I think that's all really my my thoughts on the topic. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. So I guess that's the, you know, I don't really have a big fancy outro, but like I said, I'll link Nick's video and Tanya's video down in the bottom bitch if you want to check those out. And if you have any more questions or suggestions or things you want my input on, just let me know, and I'll try to maybe express them a bit more articulately. Oh God, I even screwed up articulately. Goodbye. Oh well, I was going to have to edit anyway. One last thought. I realized I wanted to comment on your title. After I set the camera down, I looked at it and I saw it and I'm like, oh, it's titled "My Roommate Hates My Catholicism," but I think the problem is more that they hate religion in general. It's just not necessarily their thing. And Buffy's deciding to stand up to still be in camera. Thank you, Buffy. Thank you so much for getting in my way. So, I mean, that, you know, that kind of goes back to, you know, what I was just saying. So it's more a religion thing, because that's what Robert always, you know, he accused me of being against his religion. And at the time, it was one of those things that's just like, well, because I talked about Christianity being his religion. And I was like, well, that's not necessarily what I mean. You know, Christianity is your religion because you chose it. You know, I'm not saying other people didn't choose your same religion. It's just, you know, so it wasn't me hating on his religion specifically. You know, I just wasn't, you know, in it for any of them, you know. So I think it's more your roommates aren't comfortable with religion of any sort. So it's not necessarily against you or your choices, or your specific choice, I guess you should say. It's just religion in general that they are having an issue with. So, one last final thought, and I don't think Buffy has anything to share other than he likes getting pet, like, right about there. Yeah.